Each year, the British Association for the Advancement of Science gathers some of Britain's most talented young scientists at London's Dana Centre for a days-long workshop developing skills to help them engage the public with their research. Scientists often find little time to step back and look at the wider implications of their research and its relationship with society. But the BA's Perspective scheme gives these young scientists an opportunity to do just that, by encouraging them to explore two fundamental questions. What impact does your research have on society?
Well, it's quite a big issue for society, I think. A lot of people are getting enjoyment out of it, a lot more people are doing it than ever have, but also there are a lot of people who are worried about it or know people that do it and think, do they do it too much?
And also things like malaria transmitted by mosquitoes, big issue in the world today.
And how has your work been shaped by society?
I think it's probably extending the point a little bit too much, but some people have suggested that you can make a direct link from the Irish potato famine to the current state of world politics, because huge famine, millions emigrated to America, built the United States as we know it today, and in fact all of that's down to a fungus.
And in terms of funding, for example, the money goes to what's timely, so what's popular at the time. So it's also really important to be out there and making sure people are interested, because it's where their taxpayer money is going, and if you want that money for your research, you have to make sure people care.
The research councils have been funding the BA Perspectives scheme since 2003, and this is because we think it's extremely important to have early stage researchers involved in raising awareness about science and engagement of the public in science. It also enables them to be involved in this activity early in their careers, so that throughout their career public engagement and science and society activities are embedded in the way that they operate their science.
But it's not always easy to look at your work from a different perspective.
It seems a little bit.
You might find that to an extent. You might also find that there are things that you maybe kind of just hadn't crossed your mind.
So to help them, the scientists were asked to focus a critical eye on their own research as they worked in small groups. And soon, everybody had questions that needed answering.
It's taxpayers' money, effectively, for me to spend 3 years growing mushrooms and seeing what happens. And would that money be better spent doing something else, doing something medical?
There are things you can actually measure, but other things you cannot measure. So how can you measure, I don't know, happiness of people or impacts of your things?
I've worked for some of the big ad agencies like Saatchi & Saatchi, TPWA, lots of media agencies.
Perspectives uses posters to bring these issues alive and make them more approachable for the public.
I think there's 4 elements for making a good poster. It has to be simple, original, visual and memorable. You want people to sort of be talking about your poster sort of a couple of days later, a few months later. It's quite crucial, I think.
I cut mine out. I think in terms of the posters that I remember seeing, that the ones that won, they all have some kind of edge. There's something to them that's a bit different than all the other ones. So Dan, who's here, I followed him around last year at lunch, asking him all kinds of questions.
And after some expert advice, the scientists began to release their hidden talents.
Basically just trying to come up with something that conveys things to do with gambling and the internet, which are like two things that have always been quite diverse, but now they're coming together, and so just trying to visually get that across.
We're sort of going on a movie poster theme. We're going to have a sort of globe being swamped by this blood-sucking tick. The introduction sort of in the beginning, and the heroes, the kind of techniques we use, and that, and sort of the final cliffhanger conclusion as to what's going to happen.
But just as important as the poster designs themselves was the need to develop the scientists' communication skills.
There are lots of opportunities to talk to your peers, but that's quite easy, in fact, that's quite common. But to get your message to the public is something that, as scientists, you might not even think of as important. But I think we as scientists should be working hard at informing them that their money is going to a good place and that we're working hard and we're not wasting it away.
And again, that's something a bit like the noises, the eye contact. something obviously you can overdo.
So after a brief practice in pairs and a discussion about the art of good conversation techniques, we sent them through a trial run of what they would face at the BA Festival of Science come September, when they would have to talk face to face with the public.
So it's fairly basic.
Your use of vector-borne, you're bordering on sort of technical words, and if you're talking to somebody who's not scientific or whatever, then you've got to be a bit more careful about.
Well, all of you might find it useful just to run it through with a few people who don't have that kind of technical background, and your families are probably pretty good subjects for this, although they will have heard you talk about your research before.
That went really well. As I was just saying, it was sort of a case of just starting to think on the spot and that, and sort of getting your mind around what to say, sort of how much details and sort of how much info to give out.
I think it was very useful to practice speaking to people that don't know anything about my field of research. So yeah, I think that today's really helped me think about it from that point of view, and yeah, I'm ready to go.